I wanted to do three things to wrap this up. One, thank you, talk about opportunity, and I want to sort of finish by talking about choice, something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I want to thank Bridge HIV and Al. San Francisco is obviously blessed in many ways, and I'm going to talk in a minute about how much progress we are making in the fight against HIV and AIDS. But we are extremely lucky to have not only a great Department of Public Health that has led the way in many respects in terms of responding to this epidemic, but a sort of research branch and a prevention research branch, Bridge HIV, that has really been at the forefront of all of the kind of most interesting and potentially promising prevention interventions that are possible, whether it's the use of antiretrovirals as prevention, or PrEP, and now microbicides, as well as a variety of other interventions. And so I want to thank and congratulate Al for the work that is being done. And again, we're very lucky to have them. And additionally, if it weren't for Jim sort of pressing on the potential and advocating for research to address the potential of microbicides and rectal microbicides in particular to help us end the epidemic, that work would not be as far along. He's been not just an advocate for gay men in that process, but for women as well, and on the entire subject, and we owe him a great deal for that work. Opportunity. For the first time in the 30 years that we have been dealing with this epidemic, people are starting to talk about the potential to create the first HIV-free generation of people in the United States and potentially around the world. And the reason that we are able to actually say that with a straight face and with such optimism is that not only have we obviously made great strides, and we have in San Francisco certainly, in encouraging the use of condoms and encouraging people to engage in safe behaviors and providing them with support services so that they can have a better chance of actually practicing safe sex. But we and other jurisdictions in the United States have had a kind of relentless focus in recent years on making sure that HIV-positive people know their status, and that if they are positive, they're linked as quickly as possible to care and treatment. What we're really sort of talking about here tonight is the whole field of using the HIV medications that we fought so many years for to help us to control the epidemic. Not to sort of dismiss the importance of condoms or safe sex, but to use the very powerful HIV medications that we now have to control the epidemic. Making sure that HIV-positive people are in care and effectively treatment is an extremely important component of that effort, because we know that people who are effectively treated for HIV are less likely to transmit the virus to others. But I believe, and I think others believe, that pre-exposure prophylaxis and microbicides are potentially two tools that could sort of get us the rest of the way in the effort to actually have the first HIV-free generation. I'm a little disappointed. I see incredible opportunity in the use of PrEP, particularly for bottoms, obviously, but not exclusively for bottoms. And I believe in having a relentless focus on bottoms. And but I'm without disclosing anything. But I'm disappointed that, apart from the fact that there are about 2,500 people in the United States, including in San Francisco, who are actually, there are 2,500 people in the United States who are in demonstration projects in using PrEP. But apart from that, and apart from the fact that PrEP was approved, or the use of Truvada was approved for PrEP a year ago, there are only 1,000 people who have been prescribed PrEP in the entire United States, compared to, I think, a significant number of people who would really greatly benefit from using it. And finally, of course, we've heard, I think we all know the great potential that a microbicide offers. We are all using sexual lubricants. The possibility that we can add something to them that has preventative benefit is sort of obvious value. And so I wanted to finish by talking about choice for a minute. And I think we all know that we will end this epidemic and we will succeed in our goal of preventing new infections if we have more and more tools all the time to do that. Not just the condom, but antiretrovirals for prevention, pre-exposure prophylaxis, microbicides, and other things that may come along in the future. But they'll only be successful if people actually feel comfortable and feel encouraged to actually use them. One of my major perceptions about the reason that PrEP is not being used more heavily is that within our own community there's a great deal of judgment about the idea that people would not use condoms every time that they have sex, when I think all of us who've had any sexual experience know that using condoms all the time is simply not realistic. There are people who can do it, and there are people who can't, and we should not be judgmental about the people who do. But nevertheless, there are a lot of providers in the United States, and there are a lot of prevention agencies and AIDS service organizations that I think are acting as gatekeepers to new technologies because of their judgment about people who won't use condoms all the time, or their fears about what these new prevention interventions should mean. If we heard in the HIV community people saying some of the same things, well, if we heard people talking about contraception and birth control and family planning for women, the way that we hear people within our own community talking about technologies that could save lives, we would be horrified. And, pardon me?
We'd be in the Texas State Capitol.
Yes. And nevertheless, we hear people among us who are, I think, stigmatizing these new technologies and seeking to make sure that they are not available to people. And so I have a request of all of you tonight. I have two requests. One is that we must all continue to make sure that we know our HIV status. We must make sure that the people we care about know their HIV status, and that if they're positive, they are accessing care and treatment. And we must all insist, as these fabulous technologies become available, that everyone has the right to choose whether or not they want to use it without interruption from others.